Greetings and welcome to Gleba. I'm KatherineOfSky, and today we're looking at Factorio Friday facts number 100, no, not 100, 414, the spoils of agriculture. As you can see, I'm already on the planet in front of my favorite machine of all time in Factorio. Yes, I love it. It is our new weapon of forest destruction. We shall kill the trees. No problem. No problem anymore. We shall steal their young and make them make more young for us. Anyway, it's fine. So anyway, let's start off with this post, which is very exciting, by V45 3000, who's been with the Factorio team for like forever, I think. Hello! Last week you've seen how Gleba looks. Time to get a glimpse of what you can do there. So this planet is all about lots of growing things, and we're going to find out what we're going to be able to do with things. Now, I have heard that there is a very contentious topic, and I have looked at this, and while I haven't actually played the game, I think it's going to be cool from what I've heard. So let's have a look. Anyway, yeah, we have just taken to sort of like either robot destroying trees or, well, if we want the wood, sometimes we grenade them, but otherwise chopping. And this is not suitable for mass destruction, as we see. Or mass destruction, mass production. What's the difference, right? This is our brand new agricultural tower. Look at it in its full glory. I'll line it up. There we go. Looking fantastic. It automatically harvests and replants trees in its range. So what we're going to do is we're going to collect the fruit. Okay, you can see the fruit coming off with the stack inserters there. And then we're going to see the processing of this, which gives seeds back. These are the seeds. Obviously, they look like seeds. And the tower replants them in kind of a grid formation, as we will find out as well. Anyway, harvesting a plant yields fruit, which can then be processed into an assembling machine into usable products and seeds. So here we go. We are getting these from red balls. We're getting orange balls. Maybe we're just peeling off the skin of the fruit. And then we're also getting seeds that can go back to the tower. All right, so seeds can then be put back into the tower to plant a new plant. La-di-da-di-da. All right. Each new plant is seeded with a 3-tile gap from each other, resulting in a square pattern. This contributes to the entire process feeling artificial, like a plantation, rather than just wild nature. The agriculture plants can only be seeded on very specific tiles. This is quite interesting. So you'll need to obey some environmental conditions. As you can probably guess, though, this is Factorio, so for sure we'll let you... wait, am I in the right? Oh, I need to be more that way. Whoops. I'm kind of like backwards of my camera here. I'm trying to show the crane at the same time. All right. Yeah. All right. So we'll let you wreak said environmental havoc with special landfill-like soils you'll be able to develop with just a bit of research. I'm not sure how I feel about that part, though. I feel like that's cheating, like landfill is. Landfill is cheating. I feel like it removes the challenge. Like, okay, so you're giving us a thing to just ignore the environmental restrictions. It's kind of like cliff explosives. What's the point? What is the point of having cliffs if you just make cliff explosives? I don't get it. I would prefer no landfill-like thing to make sure you can have perfect plantations all over the place. I don't like that idea at all. I know a lot of people will disagree with that, but I find that, like, if you're going to make a mechanic, make it a mechanic and don't let people cheat it. So anyway, so here's another tree planter thingy. I find that this doesn't look artificial because the trees are so wild and out there. It looks very random to me. So I don't know. I mean, I guess these kind of guys look aligned because they're exactly the same types of trees. Or, well, yeah, there's these other trees in here as well. But, oh. Things are crashing inside my apartment. I don't know what they are. It's probably the wind. I know it's not the cats because they're still in jail. But anyway, I opened my windows, so I gotta put the cats in jail because I don't have any screens on the windows. So anyway, don't want them to jump out. I don't live on the first floor. Anyway, so yeah, it doesn't look particularly artificial because the trees themselves are quite There are many variations. They're very different heights. They're kind of different fruits in different orientations. So it doesn't look very artificial. Anyway, biochamber. This is a new building, another new building. So every planet we have presented so far has a unique crafting structure. Here on Gleba, it's the biochamber. It's used to process all of the fruit plants into more industrial products like carbon fiber or a mysterious material we call bioflux. But more on that later. The quirk of the biochamber is that it needs to be fed nutrients to operate. Unlike the foundry and electromagnetic plant, the biochamber isn't really used for any novice recipes, but it has its own set of recipes which basically replace all oil processing on this planet. So by further deduction from a lower picture, this white stuff is the nutrients that the thingies need. I kind of expected that to be a liquid. I don't know why. I guess nutrients to me is like fertilizer, which many fertilizers, like for my orchids, I get this chemical powdery stuff and I have to dissolve it in water, and that's how I feed the orchids. And a lot of fertilizers or nutrients are in liquid form, so I kind of expected that to be like a pipe thing. Kind of disappointed that it isn't, because it would be nice to have a liquid input. And I feel like that would be a further education, especially for new Factorians. Like, okay, we've done oil on novice. Now it's time to carry over those liquid skills over to a new planet. All right, so now the topic that is the bear in the room. Don't worry, I'm the bear in the room. I'm a nice bear. Don't worry, I'm good. I'm good. You know me. Spoilage. Right. So up until now, everything on Factorio has been non-spoiling. And you wouldn't expect gears to spoil in a box, to be fair. Fish might be, but we haven't had them spoil. Now, I've had a long history of hating spoilage because of Starbound. I played Starbound for hundreds of hours, and then on the very last patch to 1.0, they introduced spoilage. And all of a sudden, you couldn't have hundreds of crops in your backpack. Instead, each crop was one per stack, and they were each spoiling just fractionally later than the other ones, so they could never stack. Drove me absolutely up the wall. It completely changed the game, and I basically never played the game again. I hated it so much. So when I heard about this initially, I was like, oh. But let us look at this, and I will give you my revised opinion about this. All right. What are the weird white lines in the images above? Now, to be fair, I haven't seen any weird white lines. Are there any in here? These have them. Okay, the fruits do. None of these have them, which is the processed fruits. I don't see any. No, they don't seem to show any. Anyway, all right. Let's see. Now we're getting into what makes Gleba really special. When fruit is harvested or most other biological processes are made, it will eventually spoil, which turns it into a new item we call spoilage. So this is a mechanic, okay? We asked for new stuff. We're getting new stuff. This process is inevitable and can't be delayed. I mean, this is biological stuff after all. However, different items have different spoil times, ranging from 2 hours to mere minutes. This means that there are ways to control the mechanic and optimize for getting a less spoiled product in the end. Okay. The reason why you're optimizing for a better product is because the recipe's results inherit their freshness from the ingredients. That means when you craft a product out of 30% spoiled ingredient, the product will also be 30% spoiled. As we're seeing from this here, it looks like the green things are more spoiled, or maybe they're the same spoilage as the white stuff. And this is where I think the white stuff is that nutrient stuff, is because these machines are needing these as well as this new green stuff, which these guys have a different green stuff, but they have the same white stuff. Anyway, so you can see that the little bars are spoiled as well. These are more like, I don't know, 55% spoiled. All right, so you can't serve a fresh salad from a moldy lettuce. Okay. Effectively, the spoilable items need to be perceived as temporary, and it's the throughput that matters, while in contrast, buffering a stockpile isn't helpful at all. Okay, this is important to consider. This is the new mechanic. This is discouraging AFK play, which I think is the poorest excuse for a factory there is. You should never have to AFK, ever. Never. Factorio is a game where you can go out and get more. You never need to AFK. And I think that idea of buffering stuff in a bunch of chests to play later is kind of dumb. I don't like AFK play. So this is all about throughput and using stuff as fast as possible, and building up quality, because that's a new mechanic as well, building up quality as quickly as possible too. So this encourages you to play the game actively and create enough machines to play the game. I mean, it shouldn't be a problem. We're going to space. We have enough machines. This is not a problem. You just need to put in effort. And that's what's exciting about this content, is that it's a different way to play. All right. Well, when we were considering the idea of time life for items, one of the first questions was whether they should disappear or turn into something. If they just disappeared, it would be more convenient. It certainly would, as you wouldn't need to worry about the piles of spoilage you're inevitably going to accumulate. But you wouldn't know that something had spoiled unless there would be no traces of it. That's why spoilage exists, and we have multiple methods for getting rid of it. You can burn it, which may mean you can make it fuel for electricity. Waste in a recycler. Now this I don't understand at all. It seems to be they're taking in this and it produces less of it. I don't really get it. Seems to pick up quite a big stack with the stack inserters and then outputs 1 instead of the amount it picked up. I don't understand that recipe at all. Or create nutrients that are already half spoiled. Now that seems like a good idea as well. I don't know how many nutrients come from other sources, but this seems okay. I mean, might as well. Instead, I would probably just have a whole bunch of assemblers just making nutrients. Yeah, that might be a good idea. All right. To avoid this mechanic being over the top and allow meaningful decisions to be made, there are some items where their freshness doesn't contribute to the final product, as the final product is something that isn't spoilable. Now that makes sense. On the other hand, the new agricultural science packs do spoil, which reduces their value for research, so you will be incentivized to try to bring home the freshest science packs you can. One can only hope that they have refrigerators in the labs. We hope. There are some items and recipes with spoilable ingredients which need to be crafted on different planets. So on top of optimizing the production chain, it'll also be meaningful to make a fast space platform to deliver them. The main tools for manipulating spoilables are inserters with a new ability to prioritize the freshness or the most spoiled items when picking up from inventories, and filtering out spoilage with splitters. Okay, I hope that, so it sounds like we're going to be able to, I hope we'll be able to filter freshness with splitters as well, and not just spoiled ones. Maybe like a percentage amount, like 50% spoiled or whatever. Since if the production chain ahead is quite long, you wouldn't want to send spoiled items out. I guess you could always filter with inserters if needed. But hopefully splitters will do that as well. Dear, there's a lot of wind happening. Okay, design journey. Over the time we've been developing the Gleba gameplay, it went through some drastic changes. Initially, we had about 10 plants, which were harvested directly into items like plastic or sulfur, but that just became very broad but shallow. Yeah, it sounds like just a replace effect, and tedious as a result. It is worth noting that it wasn't very interesting either, as it's basically how our mining drill works. Instead, we've reduced it to 2 plants to cultivate, and their fruits are processed into a much wider variety of items. Sorry if you can hear that loud sound. They clean the streets quite often here, like twice a day. Also in much higher volumes, which restored the feeling of building a factory in the way we know and love. The seeds are not only useful for new plants, but also for creating biochambers and seedable soil tiles. Okay, so that's the ones that you make the plantations out of. So there's some decisions to be made where you invest them. That's cool. All in all, we're confident that the gameplay of Gleba is different enough to be interesting, yet builds on similar enough principles to feel familiar and, well, actually be fun. The visuals are still subject to change, along with... Oh, don't change the crane, please. It's beautiful. I love it. I love the crane. Let's keep the crane. It's fantastic. Oh my I mean, I may get more excited about the crane than rails, or even blue science. God help me. The agricultural tower has a very long telescopic arm, much longer than any other legs or arms, which resulted in being very technically demanding to make, both for Jersey and Lou, for breaking their brains with the drawing code. The biochamber was more straightforward, but Jersey had a field day with its crazy geometry node simulations. Cool. There's a lot more details to be shared, but those will be easier to digest when you have the game in your hands or in some later FFF. So that sounds very much like we're done talking about this. I mean, when we get it in your hands, yes, Anyway, though, I've heard that there's a lot of people like on the warpath about spoilage. But I encourage you to look at it as a different mechanic. It's all about throughput. This is not about things spoiling. It's about teaching the player to make a factory with throughput. It's kind of like when you have new players asking like, oh, I just got red belts. I'm going to upgrade everything. It's like, well, do you have steel furnaces in place yet? Do you have multiple furnaces feeding a single belt that you need to upgrade that belt to red? Why are you upgrading it when it's expensive if you don't have the throughput? It's a lesson in making enough stuff. And if the belts are backed up, you don't need to make more stuff. You're kind of coasting. So I feel like it's the same kind of teaching thing, as in if you want to get the products to the store on time, so to speak, then you need to have enough processing facilities, not just one green circuit maker for the whole factory. No, no, no. You need to build several. It's important, and I love that. But the thing about it is, there is a sort of time pressure, but it's not the same time pressure as sort of biters do, and which I don't like time pressure. I like to think about my factory. I like to make it. I like to construct it nicely. And what we're looking at here is, okay, it spoils. Big deal. We have ways of dealing with it now. We can put it through this recycler. We can burn it. We can make steam out of it. I didn't even notice this was a boiler. Jeez, I'm brainless. Okay. So we're making steam out of it. We can also make it into nutrients for the next group of crops. So I think that this is fantastic. This is teaching us a different way to play the game. This is very much like a lot of complicated mod packs, which change the game, the conversion mod packs that I don't know if a lot of people have played them, but things like Bob's mods or Pyanodons or any number of other mods that have recycling of products and multiple products, kind of like we have in oil in vanilla. And let's see, what else do we have? We don't really have a lot of recycling of products. Only like uranium fuel thingies, fuel cells. That's sort of recycling, but again, it's actually kind of a conversion process because the nuclear plant takes in one item, assembles it into a different item, basically. The only real comparison we have here with like the multiple products of these guys here, where we have fruits going in, peeled fruits coming out, and also seeds coming out. So we have to take all of the products in order for the factory to keep functioning. That is important to learn, that kind of gameplay, especially for new people, or especially if you've never done it before. Because I know there's a lot of Factorio veterans that really haven't played those complicated mod packs, and so they don't really have that experience of doing this sort of thing. So anyway, so I think it's great. I actually think spoilage is a great mechanic. It may sound scary, but don't worry. It's not going to eat your factory like the biters will. Well, the biters won't anyway. They're just too easy. So hopefully we might We've been teased to get some enemies in the expansion. We'll see if they're interesting. I'm looking forward to that, because ultimately for me biters are boring. But anyway, that's another topic altogether. Spoilage will not eat your factory. Spoilage at worst will require a splitter with a filter on it so you can clean your belts. That's the worst that can happen, really. That's it. Otherwise, it looks pretty fun. It looks like a fun mechanic. And as always, I'm going to have tutorials for you if you can't figure it out or need a little bit of extra help on how to design assemblies to make sure that you get rid of the spoilage so it doesn't clog up your belts and that kind of thing. I can already see it in my head how I would do this. And but yeah, there's a lot of ways to deal with it, and it doesn't seem like there's anything really lost. So I encourage you to think of it in those terms. I'm really looking forward to playing with it. I'm very excited about it. I can't wait till the DLC comes out. It's going to be fantastic. And yeah. So anyway, that's going to do it for this FFF. Thank you so very much for joining me. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you next time.